it's great to have confidence. You have to have confidence bordering on delusion to be successful in the NFL. You have to believe in yourself like no one else believes in you, and you got to act like you are the man, and then you got to go out and prove it at some point. But that confidence is kind of oozing from Kenny Pickett, and he could be in the right system with the right team without having to play out in the elements. He had a lot of fumbles playing at Pitt. He could be a pretty good NFL quarterback. Wears those gloves all the time, and those gloves he wears, I don't know if they're tight or what, they actually make his hands seem smaller than they are. When I see the pictures of him in his gloves, it's like some sort of an optical illusion. By the way, Adam Brennaman is the person who hosted the podcast and had the extended discussion with Kenny Pickett, and Adam Brennaman did not respond to any of that by saying there's a drive into deep left field. So anyway, he didn't like that one. Didn't
That's
get that one.
honest. No,
Did you get that
it.
one? All right. I didn't know. I didn't know. Okay, so anyway, Pickett also said during that interview with Adam, not Tom Brennaman, that the Saints were the most challenging interview that he had at the scouting combine. That they really put him through the paces. They give him a play call to remember, and then while he's talking about something else, they'll rattle him, or at least try to. What's the name of the play call again? And he said they were like that at the Senior Bowl, too. That tells me, number one, maybe they're that thorough with everyone, but they're really kicking the tires on this guy. And teams should. If your quarterback needy or at least interested, you've got to put the work in. You've got to put these guys through the paces, and it sounds like the Saints were taking a very close look at Kenny Pickett, but we'll see where he goes. Going into this whole broader draft process, you assume quarterbacks are not going to start coming off the board until the middle of the round. Maybe there's only going to be two. I think we're going to see one in the top 10 now. Maybe two. Who knows? I mean, once it starts, you never know when it stops. And the teams that haven't been able to otherwise find a good quarterback are going to be willing to take their shots, because it's not like it was pre-2011. You're not saddled with a financial obligation that wears you down for multiple years to come. You can get it wrong. And if you get it wrong, you know what happens? You get a chance to do it again in a couple of years, if not sooner. Maybe the very next year, like the Cardinals did, from Josh Rosen to Kyler Murray in 2018 to 2019. And when you've got owners very involved, like David Tepper in Carolina, he doesn't care. He'll swing the bat, and he's desperate to get a franchise quarterback, and they can't find one who will go to the Carolinas. So,
yes.
We'll see.
Yes. I mean, the Panthers are a fascinating team here, because where they sit right now, especially in the draft, like they could get jumped. I mean, you got a team in the Jets that's not looking for a quarterback, that is still rebuilding, that's at 4 overall, but they've also got to pick at 10 overall. All right, so if you're the Falcons, if you're the Saints, if you're whoever, maybe even if you're Carolina, you've got to make sure that if you fall in love with a QB, whether it's Kenny Pickett, whether it's somebody else, that you get that guy. And so even if this is not the most highly touted class of quarterbacks, if you're Carolina at number 7, I think they are. I'm so sorry, I don't have it right in front of me right now. But if you're in
Carolina
the top 10,
at 6.
Okay, they're 6. Yeah. So if you're Carolina at 6, and you know that I think the Giants are ahead of you and the Jets are before that, you've got to make sure that you get that guy if you fall in love with him. So I would not be shocked if Carolina, if somebody like the Saints, and you were just mentioning, if they're kicking the tires on Kenny Pickett and they fall in love with him, there are 2 teams in their division that are probably actively looking for quarterbacks. You've got to make sure you can go up and get that guy. Right. And if you're the Jets, I mean, if you want to move back, like, hell yeah, this is a draft to do it, because you don't necessarily have the type of top-heavy class that it can be. And if you can pick up more premium picks, then go do that. So I think the Jets or the Giants are in a really good spot if it just so happens that one of these teams falls in love with a guy like Pickett.
And think about this, too. I hadn't really considered this possibility. This is next-level double-secret probation type stuff. What if the Saints did this to get the 2 picks because they're comfortable with the guys they'll get at 16 and 19 to fill immediate needs so they can have an impact and they can give the Buccaneers and the Rams a run for their money? But they also like the fact that it has the indirect benefit of freaking out the Panthers and the Falcons, right? And making them more concerned, more worried, more tormented about whether or not they're going to get the quarterback they want, and maybe getting them to burn some assets, move up a little higher, whatever they have to do to get a guy that maybe the Saints have concluded is not going to be very good. And maybe you can rope-a-dope them into doing something stupid. There are layers and levels of skullduggery that goes on with the draft. Not only do you want to get guys that are going to be good for you, you want your most common adversaries to screw it up if you can find a way to get them to screw it up. I remember when 2008, Bill Parcells, then with the Dolphins, putting out the word aggressively that he loved Vernon Gholston, hated Vernon Gholston, but put out the word that he loved Vernon Gholston. And then what happened? His former protege, Mike Tannenbaum, drafts Vernon Gholston, and Gholston is a bust to end all busts. That happens, and when it happens, it's fascinating. So maybe there's a little of that Jedi mind trick that the Saints are trying to pull on the Panthers and the Falcons.
I love the unintended consequences of things that just kind of happen, right? I mean, look at what happened in the AFC West when the Raiders acquired Devontae Adams, and then obviously that just drives the market straight up on wide receiver contracts, and boom, Tyreek Hill is out of the division and he goes to Miami. So whenever you can do something like that, that has the sort of Jedi mind trick of these aren't the droids you're looking for, maybe, that's something that I think teams would love to take advantage of. And so, yeah, if you're the Saints and you've done that and now you've maybe freaked out your division rivals a little bit, that's two teams that you might hurt for the next 3 to 5 years if they end up doing something that gets them a quarterback who's just not really equipped to play at the NFL level.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.